Okay, I'd like to introduce the top gentleman, Mr. Peter Boneham from Boneham and Turner. I've known Peter a little while now, but I will let Peter introduce himself and his business. So, Peter, if you'd like to do that.
Thanks very much, Adam. Thanks very much for having me on your podcast. I'm pleased to be here. I'm Peter Boneham, joint owner, co-owner, and managing director of Boneham and Turner. I run the company with Charles Boneham. He's my second cousin, and Boneham and Turner is a over century old family business, SME, and predominantly precision engineering. And we've gone through many connotations and many changes, but always kept the name and been around for 102 years.
Yeah. And what sectors are you working in within Bonham?
So predominantly we are aerospace, Formula One motorsport, hydraulics, and the yellow industries like JCB, Caterpillar, that sort of thing.
Okay. And currently, obviously, we are going through this COVID environment. I don't necessarily want to spend too much time on it because I'm more around the positive and where we're going. But how have you tackled that side of things?
Well, we obviously, like most, we sat down with a sort of like an emergency Cobra style meeting around the table, and for us, it was to learn lessons of probably 2008. We didn't make any redundancies during that time. We went down onto a 3-day week and did some pay cuts, and all the staff were very supportive. But what we did get wrong was we possibly recoiled too much, and we didn't do enough marketing. We didn't do enough selling. We wound back all investments, and we concentrated on those costs, which is the right thing to do. Cash is king, obviously, and you want to stockpile that money and make sure you can ride the storm. But effectively, this time we decided to learn from those lessons and say, right, what can we do coming out of this? What's it going to look like? And let's concentrate on that as well as navigating the current storm. So we have obviously done what most companies have done and protected the cash, but we've also then, sat and planned for what will be, I don't like using the phrase, but the new normal. You've seen it written everywhere. But supply chains to us are probably going to be broken. Inventories wound down, which is exactly what happened in 2008, well, 2010 when everyone came out of that. And we feel there's going to be a place for rapid manufacture, high quality components, obviously, which is what we're famous for, but doing it quicker, and replenishing people's inventory as fast as they need it, and hopefully reshoring a lot of what's gone, to low cost countries back here. I think it's sometimes wishful thinking when people, talk about a lot of work coming back from China. Purchasing managers have got those figures to think about, and so to try and meet some of that, meet somewhere halfway. You've got to get slicker and more productive and get your costs down to make your components more competitive. So all in a nutshell, that's the way we've been thinking. So we have put a couple of investments in place. One was delivered last week or the week before, I can't remember. And another one coming in October time, which we're very excited about. But yeah,
no, that's brilliant then. So investment's still going there, and everything's setting yourself up for when you're coming out of it. It is. I mean, that thing around that in saying is lead time, agility, quicker, and everything like that just has a knock-on effect to everything. If we reduce lead time, we increase the sales, we increase our being able to prototype, rapid manufacture, and all manner of stuff. It just releases so much capacity, and that is going to be needed without a shadow of a doubt. And I hope more of the businesses do it as well. Have you kept up with the marketing and that side, or just being visible?
I mean, I think there's so much more scope these days to actually do a lot of free marketing as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, obviously, there's a cost of your team and your personnel doing it, but You know, so many social media platforms, podcasts, you know, various mediums now where you can get free content out there. Your website, you know, you can really leverage your website these days and blog content and anything like that. You know, YouTube, you can get some real good free content out there, free marketing out there, which enables you to keep doing it, because it's the first thing people wind in. You know, there's two things people wind in, isn't there, when these things happen: training and marketing. You know, they're two of the big things, and because they're potentially unnecessary costs or costs that can be, you know, tightened up. But you know, we've kept doing it. We've kept marketing. We've kept prospecting. We're still very active prospecting, because relationships are, you know, are absolutely key, especially through these times. You know, here at Boneham and Turner, we're absolutely, you know, focused on relationships. We're a very extroverted business. Charles spends a lot of his time out on the road networking, doing all that aspect of the business, which is, you know, these relationships are vital, and we do that around the world. You know, we've got good colleagues over in the US as well. So we've kept up, you know, big, you know, lines of communication with those guys. So yeah.
No, excellent. Which is exactly what we should be doing. All of us should be doing. You know.
Yeah, it is difficult. You know, it is difficult. You know, you've got lots of concentrations. You're trying to put fires out all over the place, but you know, marketing for me, I would say that because that's my background. But marketing for me, lifeblood of the business, because if you don't raise your profile, you don't generate leads, which is what marketing is, then you know, you can't have your sales. So, you know, for me, it's a vital part of the business.
Yeah, I've always said, always coming from a lean background on that side for years, back in the early 90s, I've always said that you can have the most efficient factory in the world. But if you ain't got sales, you're dead. If you're not selling anything, you're dead. So it's sales and marketing is a fundamental, without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you said, because you were saying around your background in marketing, this, that, and the other. So tell me a bit about your background, because obviously I know you from the family business, but what was a time before that?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously my dad was in the business, my father, so he's a businessman, and quite a lot of my friends were all interested in business, and so the big idea for me, I did some work experience down at Canada Life in London with a friend of mine, and that's my vision. I wanted to wear a suit, carry a briefcase, and march around Canary Wharf. You know, that's what I really wanted to do, and the London Life. And I thought, you know, that was for me. I wanted to, you know, get down there and do that. And yeah, I went to university in Manchester, so I think I spent 5 or 6 years up in Manchester, and I did about 12 months, over a year of Vimto soft drinks, which I really enjoyed, and it was a real, you know, opener for myself. I loved most of it. I spent quite a bit of time working with the media side, the PR side. I did numerous trips down to London to work on the media element. But I didn't like the bureaucracy, and I didn't like the marketing that was required. You know, I was told on numerous times, Peter, we can see all the work you're doing, but your colleagues can't, and neither can the MD. So can you make sure you copy everybody into your emails, you know, all the time? And this was alien to me, because you know, I'm not that sort of person. I'm not, you know, a self-glorifier. Some of the people, Charles might say different. I pat myself on the back regularly, but I didn't like that element of it. And I was on, you know, a very low wage, and I used to get the train. I used to walk 3 miles to the train, and then walk another 2 miles when I got the other side at Newton the Willows. So I'd walk 5 miles there, 5 miles back, plus get the train. And I had the comment by my manager, which was that various people in the office had made a complaint because I was arriving 5 minutes before time and leaving 5 minutes after. And I put in a good stint, and I rarely went for lunch and everything, and it was all that politics that went with it. And I, and then I had to go and buy a car so I could turn up, half an hour, 40 minutes before the clock, and leave 40 minutes after. And was I any more productive? No, probably not. But there was a lot of things like that, and I supported the sales team. There was a big sales team, and they spent a lot of their time talking about golf and fantasy football and all that element and that side. And no, I just I just thought, no, I don't think this is for me. And my father always said to me, Pete, you can come into the family business, but I'd employ you to go out and get some more experience, go out and do other things, he said. And it was around, probably the late 90s. And I think around manufacturing at the time, there wasn't exactly a buzz, was there?
Yeah.
And he said, you're never really going to have a great future in engineering and manufacturing. And that was sort of his he was very negative about it. I think he'd been through quite a lot of, the hard time of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. So he was always trying to push me away from it. But I got really into, obviously, business and study, and I was fed up at university as well. I thought, no, I like the theory of it, but, I really want to go and make a difference somewhere. And Boneham and Turner at the time, specifically in marketing, was pretty terrible. We, like most manufacturing companies, we were product focused.
Yeah.
Product orientated. So we just thought, well, we sell these products, engineers need them, they'll come and get them, and they love a black and white drawing. And of course, we were getting left behind in that element. And one of the worst things, when I came, bear in mind, we make precision shims. So one of our manufactured parts are precision cut shims, and we were making our own business cards, and we were guillotining them with a wonk. So they're all wonky. There we were stamping out precision shims, yet we were leaving behind a wonky business card.
Yeah.
And that's because an accountant got hold of the marketing budget. But yeah, so obviously I saw this opportunity to come back and instantly make an impact. And that's what is great about SMEs and family businesses is that instant impact. And it's what I say to people when I recruit here is that, we've recruited people from large corporations, and they're attracted to these words that when you're in a big company, you can probably come out with 50 ideas, and you see half of one come out in 10 years time. And, it takes a long time. There's so much bureaucracy and so many decisions and so much politics. And you come into a sort of family-run SME, and sometimes you can see almost instantly the impact a decision or an idea has.
Yeah.
It's what attracted me to do what I do, and and it's something I always say to people I recruit. And I
think that's the thing I've found. That I have so much respect for the smaller SMEs, the businesses, because they have that agility, they have that behaviour of being able to switch it on. And for me, is I think a lot of the shift coming out of this, the positive side, will be done by the SME base, because they can turn and shift and move quicker.
Yeah.
And as you say, a lot of the bigger businesses that are this lumbering giant that have just got too many bureaucratic levels and politics and all that bollocks that goes in with it. Whereas we don't have to do that with the SMEs as much. We still deal with the big businesses, but I think that the SMEs can just switch it on quicker, and I think we'd be in a far better place if.
I think so, and I mean, it's something we always say here is, we went through a period, probably about 4 or 5 years of feeling a bit like being the size of a speedboat, but turning like the Titanic, and it's trying to get back to being that, and that's what we've achieved in the last 10 years. Is we are nimble. That's what we're about. We're an SME. We're nimble. We should be able to turn and react quicker than any larger corporations. And it always goes back to keeping it simple as well. That's the other thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm passionate about is, we haven't always been, a small company. I mean, in the 80s, we were about 500 strong, and a factory in Ireland, a factory hit to 3 factories in Mansfield. And so some of our, age-old processes or things were really convoluted and suited a bigger company. And of course, you've got all these people coming and going, putting their stamp on things. And so, we did have to reflect over a number of years and get things back to being simple and being the size of company we are.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you. I was just thinking that. Would you want to be that bigger business?
I don't know, because if these things, I'd probably say no, and then Charles would probably disagree.
I want to eat the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like to conquer. I don't know. I think I've got that thirst for bettering the business, bettering what we do, bettering myself more than I have for necessarily growth. I mean, it's a byproduct of bettering yourself, growth, isn't it? I suppose. But that's what I'm about. So, although I have have an expectation of where I'd like to get to and where I'd like to be, and and that quality of life, that work-life balance, and all those things that come with running a business, it's difficult to say. I think the more you grow, the bigger you get, the less control you have, and I don't know whether that suits my personality or not.
Yeah, I know you put a lot into the personal development because you read a lot, the same as me.
Yeah.
I think Charles does as well, doesn't he? Charles does as well.
Yeah.
So you're always constantly on it. Are you reading any books at the
moment? I'm actually listening to some audiobooks at the moment because I've not got the best memory in the world. I remember some things, and other things I think I remember. That really did resonate with me. I need to go back and listen to it. So I'm on Life Leverage again. Actually, I think by Rob Moore.
That's a Rob Moore one, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I love that book, and it's not. You don't take everything away from it. Rob Moore can go off on a bit crazy with it, but it's there's certainly lots to take away from it, because I've always probably got from what I just said. I'm quite a control freak at work. I'm not in anything else, but I think it stems from passion. I'm incredibly passionate about this company, so I find it very difficult to let go. And so something like the Life Leverage book really sort of helped me think, actually, no, I shouldn't be doing this task, or I shouldn't be doing this. I should just be getting out of the way. I've got plenty of talented people who know what they're doing. Just step back and So I regularly revisit it and try and resonate. Yeah.
Okay. Whilst we're on the subject of books, have you got a top 3 or a top 1? What's the one that's made the most or had the most impact on you?
80-20 principle is really good. Because I think as an SME and an SME owner, sometimes you've got a lot. You've got a lot to concentrate on. You've got a lot of things sort of on your to-do list. We've got a lot of customers as well. From a tiny user all the way up to an OEM, and sometimes it's difficult to concentrate on what you need to be concentrating on. So I think the 80-20 principle was a good one.
Fantastic principle.
Yeah, really good principle. And you can apply it to everything, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a decision and apply it again, and then apply it again, and you can get down to the real finite detail you need to get down to. So that is a great book. Great book.
Fantastic.
And another one that really helped, and I've forgotten the name, and it's by McCowan. What was it called? Essentialism.
Okay.
I read that. And the image on the front is very much my life. And there's a picture, and it's a load of circles and going round, and basically going nowhere fast. Going in every direction and getting nowhere fast. And there's one line that comes out of it, and it's basically concentrating on the most important tasks. It was around about a time I was pretty much taking on everything in the business, basically 2010, that sort of time. And it really, really helped me, that book. Fantastic book.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, I would recommend it. It's a really good book. And then Shoe Dog, I found, there was one of the ones I've read recently, Shoe Dog, the story of Nike. I thought it was a fantastic book, and it didn't end like I thought it would. So that was a good read.
Somebody else has recommended that one to me. That one.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good book.
That essentialism, I think, is because it is like 80-20 rule and focusing on those I call them, well, Rob Moore does, all the income generating tasks, and being so really focused on it. It's absolutely fantastic. So underutilized, that 80-20 rule, though. That's still surprises the hell out of me. That does, particularly within manufacturers that you thought would have sort of like undertaken that a lot more.
Absolutely, yeah, you would have thought so, but you rarely. When I mention it to people, I say, "Oh, Pete's using that buzzword again." But no, I like I say, I think you can apply it to pretty much anything, and you can carry on applying it as well, and really get down to the bare bones of what the decision you're trying to make or what you're trying to concentrate on.
Yeah. Anyway, coming back to your profession, your journey, and that side. So Dad's turned around and said to you, "Go and find your way, son. Don't come into engineering." Why marketing? Because my dad, chartered engineer, big influence on my life, still has a big influence on my life. Fantastic mentor, brain just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to be the same with your dad, with family business and everything like that, businessman, entrepreneur, and that side. I was quite surprised that because engineering, you didn't go into engineering. Was that an influence of your dad, or were you actually, no, I want to do something different for a startup?
I liked business. I think that was the main thing. And like I say, initially for years I wasn't going to come into the company. I came here quite a number of summers and did all sorts of work, from working in the stores to in the office to sweeping up or whatever. And I suppose Boneham and Turner then, we were in a 70,000 square foot 1930s factory. And it was leaking, it was dark, it was dingy, it was oily, it was everything that 1930s factory were.
Everything the media depicts now.
Exactly. It's the way everybody feels that manufacturing still is, but it's far from that now.
Far from that. Yeah.
That's what it was as a kid, and I suppose that's like everybody. That's what I saw engineering. Engineering as, and Dad, I'd say Dad wasn't too positive about the industry at the time. And the big lights and going down to London, I suppose, drove me a bit that way. But I've always been I've always been interested in business from a young kid, selling conkers outside my mum and dad's drive and that sort of thing. And I've always had jobs. I had 2 or 3 paper rounds when I was at school. Worked in pot washing hotels. I used to do everything just to make money and know how all that worked. So yeah, I've always been interested in business, and I think marketing, to me, was, like I said, it's the main thing that attracts people to your business, and I could see, the need for it, and that there was going to be a good career in it. Should I choose it? So,
yeah. Is there anything that you wish you'd have known when you first started out?
You know what? I probably would have listened to my old man. I would have still come in, but I probably would have had a few years doing something else. I feel I've always got fresh ideas, and I think I've brought quite a lot to and carry on bringing a lot to Boneham and Turner and the Bonham Group. But I probably could have, brought in a lot more experience from different industries, because I think that's something that's affected engineering and manufacturing quite a bit. Is we tend to, well, we don't so much now, but we've always been quite an insular industry, haven't we? Where we always feel we need to recruit from manufacturing or from engineering, and the principles come from manufacturing. But I think so many industries cross over, and I think there's a lot to be learned from all different industries. So potentially would have done that. Yeah.
It's an interesting. That is a real good thought for me, because I'm a big believer of that. Is that we spending so much time in manufacturing, we blinkers on manufacturing, get the product out, doing this and the other, and we don't cross over. Yet when I've come out and have set the business up, and in particular the marketing side, you've got far more experience than me on the marketing side. I then started looking at it, and I was taking things that I'd seen in like beauty salons, from a marketing point of view, and applying that into the marketing, into manufacturing stuff, and things like that. And there are some fantastic crossovers, some fantastic learning.
There is, because when I first came in, obviously we had the wonky business cards, but it was a time when people were investing in e-commerce, and people were really starting to plough money into that. And when I came in the company, everybody told me that no, we'll not sell your products online. They'll not sell online. Nobody wants that. If they want them, they like to see a catalogue, they like to see a black and white drawing. They want to see it on paper. And you had all this negativity, because in engineering that's what it was. Everyone had 2D drawings at the time, and it was all black and white. And I suppose from coming from the fast-moving consumer goods industry, I wanted to bring colour. I wanted to bring 3D modelling. I wanted to bring decent imagery. I wanted to bring all those things, and I guess made a big difference in that way. And I wish I'd done it more. I wish I had. Some more. Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think your unique skill is that's helped you become the successful person you are?
Good question. I'm not very good at self-reflection.
No, that surprises me, because I think more so out of you and Charlie, you are very considered in your answers, and so you do sort of like reflect, but you don't reflect on a deep sort of like reflection or a long-term reflection of things like that.
That's absolutely. I don't dig deep into and especially about myself. I like to learn from my mistakes, and I do. But I'm not really very good at looking at my plus points. I really think, to be honest, I think both Charles and myself will say this, is passion. The biggest thing that keeps you going all the time is passion. I'm a big believer actually now in taking time out and finding the best points of the day when your concentration's the highest, and taking on those tasks and things like that. But I frequently did 72-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks, and still had energy, because you're living off the adrenaline of that Bonham brand, that 100-year institution, and our forefathers and everything else. And I think the passion that I've got for this business is my real skill set. It is, I won't let something go. I'll, wake up in the middle of the night and have an idea and write it down and go back to sleep, that sort of thing. And, I never lose sight of that. And I suppose, that's the biggest thing. And also when I'm at work, I'm a people person, and I try to understand everybody's point of view. I try to put myself in the head of everyone, and that probably is the marketing side. I've tried to bring customer centricity, so I try and put myself in the head of the customer and say, what does Boneham and Turner look like? What does the Bonham Group look like? What's the Bonham brand about? And I suppose I do that with all my colleagues, with everyone here. I always like to try and look at it in their eyes and work that way. So I suppose that's another good element to me.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic way of doing it, looking through the customer's eyes or trying to be in their shoes. It's a great way of doing it. Okay, and talking about that, what do you think your biggest challenges at the minute for you in your specific role for you right now? And I know we're in this unprecedented time, and I know we don't like saying the new normal because I don't even know what the new normal is going to be like. What's sort of like? Is there anything keeping you up at night? Is there anything that's, or is it just a matter of we know what we're doing, we're getting on with it, we know that we're pushing to come out the back end of this? Because I know what both you and Charlie are like. You're very, very forward thinking.
Yeah, I think, I mean, now, you go through that initial phase, don't you, where you come to terms with what's happening. We entered 2020 thinking this is our year, because we've spent the last few years investing in quite a lot of systems and various other, and capacity and people, and we thought, right, 2020 is going to be our year. So we had to come to terms very quickly that it wasn't going to be. And we had to, shift ourselves and react quickly to what was going on. So we've come to terms with it. We came to terms with it very quickly. And I suppose the biggest challenge is bringing, I think for most business owners, obviously there's resources, there's trying to make sure you've got enough cash to survive. There's all these various things that have been going on. But I think one of the biggest challenges as a leader is to bring your colleagues, bring your staff with you, because there's a lot of uncertainty for everybody, and you've got to try and keep everyone motivated, everyone positive, because they don't all think like us. Not everyone does. I sit here quite positive because I'm still looking for opportunities. Charles is a big opportunity person. We look for them, and I say we keep one eye on that future and investing and various other things. But you can't expect everyone to have your mindset. And so I think one of the biggest challenges is to try and keep everyone motivated, everyone happy, and everyone sort of consolidated. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges, because a company's only as good as its people. And so you want everyone on board and everyone happy. And
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, no, that's good to hear. Is there anything other that's been a big surprise to you in recent times? Taking the obviously the current situation out of it, because that has been a big surprise. But over the past few years, because we were talking about strategy before, weren't we? End of last year, and the uplift and scaling up. Is there anything that has ever caught you by surprise other than this recently? And I'm talking both positive and negative, or anything from that point of view.
Caught me by surprise. Good question.
I think both you and Charlie, both you as you run the business, are very, very good at of keeping things, the tasks orientated, the objectives on side, the strategy, and that side. So you've always, as you say, you've always got that one eye on the ball on
that. But we've taken on quite a lot. I mean, we've I say the investments and various other things. We've assembled a team quite quickly. Management team, and in the mix of that, we've got AS 900 accreditation.
Fantastic.
I suppose. And implemented a new SAP system, and also celebrated 100 years, which was a big passion. It all sort of came in one fell swoop. 1 year, we smashed through all these different projects, and that's sort of my and Charles' sort of way, is we see sort of which way we want to go, and that's it. And we set ambitious targets and we kept hitting them. And I mean, I had this discussion with you, didn't I? We hit where we wanted to be. We hit this target, and we hit where we wanted to be. And then it sort of flatlined. And there was all these projects we had, and they're all done. And obviously left scars. We were still trying to, run the business as well. And I suppose we kept hitting that growth run every year on year. We were getting exactly where we needed to be, and then it sort of curtailed, and like we've said, it mainly down to our sort of entrepreneurial spirit, our passion, and the passion of our team sort of got us where we needed to be. But then we hit that process ceiling, I think, and we didn't have the right processes in place and the right things in place to continue it. Probably needs to get out our own way, get those processes in place and get out our own way and recruit some other people, but we didn't, and sort of hit that glass ceiling really, and been there ever since. But yeah, I suppose that's what, yeah.
That was good. Yeah, because you're 100 plus odd now, aren't you? Years? How many years?
Yeah, 102. Yeah.
102. Yeah, so I couldn't remember whether it was 100. For some reason in my head, I got 103, 105, but I knew it was in and around that area, which is a fantastic achievement. That is bloody fantastic.
Yeah, especially I always think, especially in manufacturing and engineering, it's we know it's had its peaks and troughs, hasn't it? And it's certainly not something I feel that the country's really got behind for a few decades. It was deemed such a filthy and industry, and we want to get away from it, and everything's been pushed to services, hasn't it? And of course London and everything else. So yeah.
Don't get me started on that one.
No.
So I think there needs to be a massive rebalance on that for me. No, you'll get me on a rant. So I'm not going to go down that route. You both, this what surprised me knowing you when we've had the meetings, because I'll tell people now, I've gone over a few times with meeting Peter and then meeting Peter and Charlie together.
Yeah.
And what was diarised in for 1 hour has ended up being about 5 hours in each session talking. So I think it's been on a Friday afternoon going over at 1 o'clock and leaving at about 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Just talking all manner of stuff. And the one thing that surprised me not surprised me. Yeah, no, it did surprise me because you got the marketing background.
Yeah.
But you are quite operational. And then Charlie's doing the sales and marketing side.
Yeah.
And you do seem to fit into that operational side. Do you see that? Because obviously you've got affinity with the marketing, you know that, and that's where you wanted to be. But
I mean, I suppose yes and no. I mean, you sort of fall into these things, don't you? You as an SME, you have to. I mean, I came. When did I get into Boneham and Turner? It was 2005. Yeah, 2005. So it wasn't long. We moved here in 2008. The recession really hit us back in 2008, starting 2009. So baptism of fire really for me. And so yes, I had a good couple of years, marketing, project management on bringing in new products and expanding the catalogue portfolio. And then so we hit that time, and really it was all hands to the pump. Had to pick up a lot of different tasks, and found I was doing everything and nothing really. Doing everything, getting nowhere fast. I suppose then I started to pick up various other elements of the business, and then when I became a director, Charles has always been in that sales position. He looks after the sales, and only really one of you, being an SME. Go and do that. Occasionally I get out to the networking events, and I'm very active in speaking to customers and things. But we can't afford for both of us to be out there. So I went more into the operations. I still do the marketing, I still do the website, but a lot more of the internal marketing. And Charlie goes out and does the external stuff. And so molded into the operations, which I very much enjoy. I very much enjoy processes. I like working with people. And like I say, with an SME, you make a slight change in operations, and you can often see you just chuck a stone in, tiny ripple, and then very quickly see the big wave at the end. Yeah. Wrong, and they have to wind it back and move the chess piece, and hope it has a more positive effect. But that's what that's another reason I love it.
And you and Charlie do work together. Was Charlie working in the business before you came back into it, or you both arrived at the same time?
Yeah. He was. So I think he became a director in 2003. His father retired, and he became a director in 2003. I was turning up to the business then in the summers and working. So he was in a sales position then. So I think he was tooling manager or sales manager.
Yeah, okay.
So he was very much settled in that sales role.
You both came in at a very, very similar time, though, didn't you? Both 2003 and 2005.
Yeah, he was already in the business, but he didn't become a director.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he might be 30 years, actually. I think he's been
there. At Bonham's, 30 years?
Yeah. He looks it as well, yeah.
I'm not going to say that.
No, some people often do think he's my father, which doesn't go down too well, actually.
Oh, no, I bet that doesn't. No, I can imagine that. Yeah, go my life. I can see where that comes from. No, Charlie, I'm only joking. So, from obviously the aspects now and what you're doing now, what are some of the things you're researching into moving the business forward without giving too much away and things like that? Are you experimenting? Are you looking at diversification and different aspects? Or
yes, massively. Yeah, I mean we always do. I sort of always think there's various areas you can grow and move the business. So we always look at product development. It's not something we did for a number of years. We've got quite traditional legacy products, and then we also distribute some other people's products as well. So our own MPD sort of took a back seat. So the last sort of 5 years, we've probably brought more products to market than we had done in the previous 15. And we're looking at that more and more. So we're looking at parts we can solve problems with, and we can get some intellectual property on, and go back to our roots, because that's what we used to do. Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, we identified products in America and brought them over to the UK and worked with British standards to standardise them over here. And we bring out a standard range, a standard catalogue range. So that was sort of our roots, and so we've taken that element and gone back to it. So we're developing a number of products in between, trying to keep up with manufacturing everybody else's. We have, like I say, a couple of investments. So one's a new way of making something, and another one will hopefully, when it comes in October, really take us on leaps and bounds in a certain section. And we're also launching a couple of new brands, and a new business in itself with one of the brands. So that's coming soon. And what else? Big concentration on America as well. So we've got Bonham products out in the US and New Jersey. Fantastic team out there. We've got a fantastic network of reps out there as well. Some great guys, some really driven guys. And we're really focused on getting our manufacturing plant up to the ability to support them and support the aerospace industry out there. Quality, brilliant. We're there. We keep striving forward for that efficiency, that productivity, that speed. We really want to be making things a lot faster than we do. And so there's a lot of work going on the operations side to get there.
Superb. What's I never asked you this when we were talking around obviously the current situation. What's your gut feel around getting back to times? What do you think the timing is? Because I keep hearing some people saying Q1 2021, others saying like Q2, Q3 2021.
Does anyone really know?
Yeah, and that's the thing for me is it's
I had the unfortunate displeasure of having Jeremy flicking the radio on, and Jeremy Vine came on, and he said, what was it? He said, we talked about holidays, and he said, well, it's looking like that, people won't be going on. People will be staycationing for at least the next 5 years. And I thought, well, an awful negative comment. But it all depends on people, doesn't it? I think if it's safe and people want to get back on aeroplanes, then the aerospace industry will bounce back faster. If people don't, and we don't get that sort of feeling of being okay, then it could take a lot longer. I think a lot of people in the aerospace industry are saying 2023. back to the full swing of things. But I think in general, the economy, yeah, I think first quarter of 2021, I think 2020 is our time to, and most companies to sort of regroup, get prepared, because there will be a bounce back, and a lot of companies will lean on tier 2, tier 3 businesses to manufacture their parts, and get these supply chains up and running, and get inventories back to where they were. So yeah, I think 2021, and I think everyone's going to be prepared for it, and become leaner, better, smarter, more innovative, and I think we'll see a good climb out, a good positive climb out.
No, I agree, and I think some of that, for me, some of this is around, as you say, always going to be coming down to that end consumer, but it's about nurturing the end consumer through this position at the minute. And if we can do that quicker, or the quicker we can do that in nurturing it, the quicker we'll get back up. If it's done properly, I think, yeah, you can do it, definitely.
Absolutely, I think it's down to leaders and of the country and of business and of in society to really help people get back to where they were, and have that positive attitude towards it. So
I think a vaccination would be a big jump on it.
Yeah, I think if people have that invincibility that they felt they could get back out and carry on. Yeah, I mean, like I say, we said, haven't we, a number of times, there's new normal. I can't stand the phrase, because I just think, no, we just get back to the way we were. I think there will be obviously a lot of businesses that go to the side. There's a few industries that will have changed. I think a certain generation of people who probably wouldn't have bought online and refused to buy online were forced to, and thought, actually, I quite like this. It's quite convenient. So I think there'll be a lot of change in certain industries, but I think like events, the exhibition industry, which has been hit hard, tourism, it will get back. It will get back to where it was, and it will be the same, if not better, than it was previously.
Yeah. Have you, talking around the change and everything like that, have you had many people working from home?
Yeah.
And in doing that, are you actually going to keep that on? So do a hybrid, or are you actually going to bring people back into the office when it's all?
I mean, to be honest, it's something where we were quite quick. We moved people, to remote work, and we've got that sort of structure set up anyway. Because I'm one of these people who believe, I like working from home myself. In the evenings and weekends and various other things. So I'm all for being able to access anything from anywhere. So we were quite well set up. So it was quite easy for us to quickly mobilise people. Certain people are fantastic from home. We've seen a productivity increase in a number of people where their workload's gone up, and that's great. And yeah, I personally think we would continue with that model. Some people like working from home, some people don't. Some people work well from home but don't like it. They like the hustle and bustle of the office, and they don't like being in the same four walls all the time. They feel caged. But we're a flexible business. We try to be, where as much as we possibly can be. So, if someone's a mum, a father, have these other commitments, it's very important, especially these days, and to make sure people get that, I wouldn't say balance, but we respect the private lives and the other commitments people have, because you've got to have that rounded happiness, haven't you? You want a prosperous working life, but at the same time, the reason you have that is to have that family life, that family element, or whatever it is that makes you happy outside of work. So, we've always been flexible. We try and if people can work from home, and they do work from home, then we've always been open to it anyway. So we do that.
Excellent. No, it was only reason to ask, because there's been a number of conversations and questions of recent around that I've been involved with around that, and there is a lot of businesses are saying that they're going to do a hybrid. So a lot of businesses have reduced service reduce the office space and things like that, and are actually doing a hybrid side. So yeah, no, I wondered.
There's a lot of people I've spoken. I mean, I spoke to 3 people last week. There's a couple of guys in the public sector, and they've been told. And the bank as well. They've been told not to expect to return to the office until February 2021. Because it's working for them. The costs are massively reduced for them. Potentially, I don't know. And so they've said, no return to the office until February 21. So yeah.
I think there is some. I mean, I know there has been some really good things around that I've seen due to the situation we've been. I mean, some of the pollution side and some of the stuff that is just sort of like the China pollution one was the most amazing one from the satellite thing I've seen from that. But then also some of the growth in the environment and that side, so it has been a positive impact. And I just hope that we can carry that back on. The other side that I do hope that we can carry back on is this. I think it's brought, whereas beforehand we were in our own little territorial bubbles as families and things like that. I mean, I've had conversations where I am, where the neighbours, they've been here sort of like 14, 15 years, and I don't even know the names of the neighbours next door and things like that. And it's brought that side. I hope to God that stays the same, that community side.
You're bringing that community back, isn't it? And it's great to see. I mean, I live in a village, and straight away, letters came through the post with traffic lights in there, so you had a green on your window if you were all okay inside, and red if not. And so many people were, the community spirit was there, trying to offer their help with shopping and various other things. And like you say, you get to know more people, your neighbours that you probably haven't ever met, and all sorts of things. So it's brought back that community spirit, and there's lots of positives to take. I mean, it's been an awful time, obviously, for many families, but it's times like this when businesses and communities all pull together, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So here's one for you. It's some quick fire-ish questions for you now to finish off with. So what makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
What makes me feel inspired? Now I'd have to say my children. They're my inspiration. My 2 little boys are my inspiration. So that'd be probably what I'd say. Coming home every night and giving them the best quality of life I can. That's an inspiration for me. And I always say, being part of a family business. My name's on the back and front of my T-shirt today, and I just think. 102 years. It's an institution. It's what inspires me every day. The 4 generations that have gone through the business, and I don't think you can get a better inspiration than keeping this going and handing it over to the next generation in a better way than we inherited it. And that's our goal. So
yeah, absolutely. It's part of the DNA around that area. From our side. Here's an interesting one. So, there you go with this. If in 150 years science fails to save us all, and all that is left is a book about your life, what would the title be, and what would the blurb tell us about Peter Boneham?
Well, probably.
Title first.
In the theme of what I was saying before, probably pedalled hard, got nowhere.
No, you can't say that.
No.
You've certainly gone somewhere. We're definitely with the business and that side.
Yeah, I'm always hard on myself, but I think that's also what drives me. Like I say, I'm driven by I just want to better everything all the time. I drive people mad because I don't sit still, and it's the same. Same with everything in my life. Really, I just like to keep bettering stuff. So, yeah.
How do you go about doing that? Is it just through reading and self-development and that side, or do you do other things as well?
Yeah, just reading self-development, and I think there's inspiration all around us as well, don't you think? smartphones and everything, you see something in a completely different context to what you're in, but you think, oh, that could work, that could do this, that could do that. And there's so many inspiring people that you've got direct access to these days and things, and I just feel that's always the driver. But yeah, I always have been that way. I've always thought, this could be better, that could be better. I always like to look into how something's built, how something works, and think about how it could be better. I'm not an engineer, but I'm a pretend engineer in my mind. I like to work things out, and then I like to look at better ways of doing it, because I think if you're not moving forward, then essentially you're dying, aren't you? If you're not growing, you're dying, and that's always my philosophy. I think if you sit still, you don't get anywhere. And I'm also a firm believer in what the work we put in now, you see in 10 months' time.
Yeah, definitely. There was something that sprung to mind then I was going to ask you, and my short-term memory is shocking, and it's gone. I can't remember what it was.
It happens to
Oh
the
my
best.
God. My short-term memory is very awful, really is awful. I can't remember. I'll ask you this one anyway. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
About myself, or
the business, or whatever.
I don't know. That's a tough one. What would you?
Ooh. Now you've asked, don't you? Nobody's asked for that.
No.
I don't know, because I find it a tough one. One of my biggest sayings is always knowledge talks, wisdom listens.
Yeah,
I do reflect and I do think, and you can tell that in when I watch myself back on some of the videos and things like that, and I listen. But when I've listened to some of the podcasts, there's a long pause in for me when I'm talking, and I'm normally looked off at a different angle as well when I've watched the videos, because I'm thinking, I'm in that reflective sort of like deep thought mode. And so that saying is always stayed with me. It's that knowledge talks, wisdom listens. And I think it's a good thing to have as well. It's
massive, because I obviously sit in many meetings, and Charles and myself are probably the biggest culprits of it. Is you don't really listen. People think they listen, but you're not. You're just waiting for your time to speak, aren't you? And you might say something, and I might say something straight away. You think, just want to mention that, because I'm just like you. My short-term memory is not great, and I think if I don't get this out of my mouth now, I'm going to forget. And I have now tried to, keep notes, just write down. When I think of something, write down, carry on listening, stop, waiting to talk, because that's essentially what you're doing. You just sat there waiting to get what you want to say out, and you're not really listening, because listening is a massive skill in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And that's the one thing I do try and do is listen. Really intake what's being said. I may not always compute it right or analyse it correct, but I do try a little bit.
Well, that's the trying that counts, isn't it?
Yeah. What does being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, mean to you?
I thought, but funny enough, I thought about this the other day, and when you are an entrepreneur and you run a business, it defines you. I'm very, very strict with myself. I get home and I try not to take my work home on me. So obviously I work from home, but I try and greet the kids and my lovely wife, with positivity, and I try not to bring any more problems or talk about work, because I'm well aware that whilst we have the benefits of me owning a business and everything else, I'm very aware of it's all consuming, and it takes up a lot of my time. And so the time I have with my family, I think I've got to try and shelve work and think about it. And so I thought about this the other day, and I thought without the business, it would be a huge chunk of me gone. huge. Where would it be without it? Because it's sort of what I, as well as my family, it's what I live and breathe. And
what would you do?
well, without it,
Hmm.
well, I don't know. Is the answer? I think I'd probably rebuild.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, whether you'd straight away pick yourself up, get up and go.
Yeah, I ditched Turner and and start at Boneham. Yeah, no, we would rebuild. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, it's a huge chunk of you. It's a huge part of who I am. And it's not. For me, it's not about power or any of those things. It's purely, it defines who I am. And, it's all I've known for the past 16, 17 years.
Mm. It's interesting you say around that family and that side is what I've found some of it with being a business owner is that I don't look at it as that, like we always say, the work-life balance.
Yeah.
I don't look at it as it's more of an integration. The family always comes first. So what if I make time with family, I'll catch back, even if that's later on in the evening, early hours in the evening. If it's a weekend, I will catch that time back. The priority is it's as an integration. I integrate work around what I need to do.
Absolutely. It's so, again, sort of a shackles of an old company. When I first came here, it was all about being seen. It was all about being seen. You tutted that, joked about if you came in 10 minutes late or any of those things, and you couldn't be working unless you were sat at your desk here and looking busy. And it's one of those things that we've changed this culture over time as well, because you want that flexibility, and you say it's the integration. Sometimes you put an hour, go and see your kids play, go and see your go to your kids' sports day, be there for someone if they're going to the doctors, do all those things, and you put the time back somewhere else, and often more productive time because everyone else isn't there. You're working an evening or a weekend, there's no one there to bother you, and you get that time back, so you can often be more productive, and everyone's happy. So.
Now, you alluded to this earlier on. That you've just brought up there the productivity around your time and stuff like that. So, if you gave me the indication you've actually analysed your time and where you are most productive in the day.
Yeah.
So, what time's for you?
6 to about 10:30, and it really is like Boneham and Turner, that precise. I get sort of 10:30, and I start flagging, and I need to change what I'm doing, and I need to do something that's probably just reply to emails or go around the shop floor, talk to everyone, see how they're getting on, and stop that really important work. And then sort of 2 o'clock, if I pick up about 2 o'clock, back into the real concentration work, then I can plow through, and funny enough, it gets to about sort of 5:30, and I'm trying to get away from the desk, but I'm really in the mode, I'm really still there, and then then it sort of disappears about 7, something like that. But yeah, that middle of the day is ever so funny. It might be down to energy from food, because I like my food, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, that's my optimum is definitely the early morning. I'm an early riser.
Yeah, I'm an early riser, and I'll go out and I'll do my walk. And I'll go for a walk, 3/4 an hour to an hour and stuff. But I found my sweet spot is sort of like 10:30 till 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
then
the opposite to me.
Yeah, then I struggle, and then I'll go again of an evening. And and I still think I need to work on some of that aspect and to get the best out of it. Out of myself.
Really, I think it's one of those things, again, you can really find down, but it's never one size fits all, and it's nonsense about getting up early and do it. I get up early, but I get up early because I want to fit more into my day, like a workout, walk the dog or whatever, and see the kids before I go, that sort of thing. And I feel you can get rid of some emails before you get to the office, or various sort of other activities, so you can pack more in. But I'm a firm believer that there's no size fits all. You have to know your cycles, and you have to know when you're most productive, when you're got the most energy, and when you're capable of, it's like I get home at night, and if my wife presents me with a decision to be made, I can't do it. I've spent all day making decisions, and so I get there at night, and I'm useless at it, and I don't want to do it. And it's part of the reason why my wardrobe now is just black and white t-shirts and jeans and black socks. No decisions. I wear the same thing all the time, and I don't have to make decisions. I save those up for work when they're most effective and needed.
Yeah, but the same as me, black, as I'm in a black shirt, always black shirt and black jeans. No, definitely. So just bring it to an end and everything like that. How can we find Bonham and Turner website and that side?
It's www.bonham.co.uk, and then we've got bonhamusa.com for America. You can find us there. We're on LinkedIn. I don't think we really do Facebook. Trying to get an Instagram up and running, but we haven't really managed that yet. But yeah, LinkedIn we're quite active on, and the website.
Yeah, so Instagram. I'm just messing about with Instagram at the minute, and I'm just trying to fathom out. I still think, without shining about that, LinkedIn is the one. But yeah, we can. Yeah. So LinkedIn, and I'll have all those in the description anyway. So anybody who wants to look and find you will be in the description of the podcast.
Yeah, and anybody who wants to get in touch with us for any reason, we're quite an extroverted company. Myself and Charlie are always open, to speaking to people, and that's not just customers. It's anybody in the industry, anybody that needs any support or just want to talk about, the way the land lies. We're always open to it. And like we can rattle on for 5 hours in an hour.
I have to say that I haven't. The two of you are a very, very good match in the business side, and you all are always constantly looking. So I was we were talking about different books and things like that, and both of you have read them and stuff. So that continuous development, that personal development, and also that business development is always there. And that comes out in the business as well, which is a good thing.
Yeah, thank you. We try, and like you say, we complement each other. I think when you're a family business, and you get a lot of fallouts over the years and these various things, and I think we don't look over our shoulders. He goes out and does the networking. Occasionally I get out there. There's nothing stopping me getting out there. We have our bit. When we come together, and that's the main thing, really.
Yeah. What next for Bonham and Turner, anyway?
What's what?
What's next for Bonham and Turner? Bonham and Turner.
Conquering the world.
Yeah.
No. We've got a lot. We've got a lot of plans. We have got a lot of plans. We've got, like I say, we're
doing the investments and everything. Yeah.
There's new brands coming. We've got a sort of a financial goal. We've got our objectives, and they involve, when we get to a certain level, further diversification and responding to customer demand in our industry, and innovating. It's the main thing. You just got to carry on innovating.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you at some point anyway.
No, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure for me. I'm honoured to have been on your podcast, Adam.
Not a problem at all. It's been great.
Thank you.